Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches. Now, the day we're recording this is Wednesday and I just arrived back off my honeymoon yesterday, so you'll have to forgive me if I sound a little sort of bunged up. I always seem to get a cold whenever I come back. It's not COVID, I've tested, it's all good, so that's the main thing. But I hope you've all been well, hope you enjoyed the last week's drop, and again a big thank you to everyone because you were really good. I only received a couple of phone calls and a couple of messages, but nothing too extreme, so you guys and girls really respected that, so thank you very much, it means a lot to me. But we're back to it, so get those messages in, get those calls in, it's all okay now. Bombard as usual, so let's get back to the busyness. Now, as always, down in the description there is a timestamp to every single watch we're showing here on the table, as well as a link to the website where you can purchase the watch, see more details and the photos. Obviously, if the watch is available, some of the watches do sell before they get to the website. You guys and girls are well aware of this by now. And I do want to say as well, if you want to sell a watch, get in contact. info@Kibble Watches, you can email us, you can Instagram us, or the easiest and best ways on our website. You'll have to excuse the noise, it's quite hot in here, so we've got the windows open. But on the website, there's a sell section, top there, fill out the form and we'll get back to you as quick as possible. Also want to say a big congratulations to Pedro over in Portugal for winning our Chronopod giveaway, and thank you to everyone who participated. I think we had something like 125 entries or something like that, which is really great to see, so thank you all very, very much and congratulations. We're going to get that out to you as soon as possible and hopefully it'll be with you very shortly. And before we dive into the variety that's on the table, and believe me, this is a varied drop from vintage to modern to brand new and unworn. It's a very, very cool drop. What's on wrist? Now, I'm wearing something that is coming to the website hopefully next week, so keep an eye out for this, but as always, get in contact if you want to beat the website. This is an Omega Speedmaster Broad Arrow, 1957 as the sort of nickname is called, because it's based on the Broad Arrow from 1957, as you probably guessed. Beautiful automatic coaxial, absolutely gorgeous, fresh from service and polish, complete set from 2012. They just don't come up like this, so it's a really great find. So if you guys and girls have been after one, this is the best example and probably the one to pick up, so get in contact. So there we have it. I tried to keep the rambling to a minimum this week. I think that's probably the shortest one in a while, but let's crack on. So we're going to have to start with this absolute gorgeous mid-size Rolex Yacht-Master. Let's take a closer look. So to begin this week, we have this gorgeous 37mm Rolex Yacht-Master rhodium dial, as it's often referred to, with that electric or sort of subtle baby blue second-hand and Yachtmaster stated right there. This is an absolute gorgeous reference, and the 40mm version of this is one of those watches I would love to own one day. Whereas the 37 is fantastic and it's beautiful on wrist and it's definitely more of a unisex option, but for me the 40mm is the one. But this is certainly one to still pay attention to if you're in the market for something a little bit smaller and a little bit dressier than the classic Submariner. Still a couple of stickers here and there. This watch has been left unworn since June 2021 when it was originally purchased. It's been left in the safe, and here it is now for sale. So this is your opportunity to pretty much get a brand new watch. As you guys and girls know, Rolex, you can't really get them at retail, even these 37mm options. Therefore, they do trade over retail. You be the judge of whether that's worth it to you or not, but just understand the game you have to play if you want to get it at retail. We can sit here and debate all day long whether that's right, wrong, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, that's what the market is. So here is this example for you. This is the reference 268622. As you can see, it does come on its original Oyster bracelet, which is brushed and polished. Classic Rolex clasp, as you'd expect, with the 2mm adjust that pops out just there. Closed case back, again, as you'd expect from Rolex. And beaten away inside this is the automatic Rolex caliber 2236. And as I say, this is from June 2021 with its full box and papers in unworn condition. So that's the important thing to mention. This is essentially a brand new watch. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my just shy of 7-inch wrist. I have to excuse the noise outside. Clerkenwell is always super loud and busy with motorbikes apparently. Something to keep in mind with the smaller 37mm is the bracelet size. So I have, as I said, just shy of a 7-inch wrist. I'd probably be taking one link out for this to fit me nicely. That is the full bracelet, so this is one link bigger than my wrist. Again, keep that in mind with this reference. So it is 37mm by 43.5mm lug to lug, only 11mm thick and 18mm lug. So if you do have a larger wrist, you could always throw it on a leather strap or a NATO or something like that. Alternatively, obviously go to your local Rolex AD. They will be able to provide you links, obviously at an additional cost, so keep that in mind. But go check this beautiful watch out on the website today. From the Yacht-Master to a forever classic, something that's absolutely gorgeous. They're now discontinued Omega Speedmaster. Let's take a closer look. So as I said, an absolute classic. No one can deny that. This design has stood the test of time, both in terms of its aesthetics, but also in terms of its durability and reliance. Hence why NASA have chosen to use this watch. In case you didn't know, this watch went to the moon. I'll be surprised if anyone out there didn't know that already, with how much Omega have really gone on about that. But fair enough. I mean, you have a watch that went to the moon. Why on earth wouldn't you make that such a big deal or make that part of your main marketing campaign? I always hear criticism of Omega for that. I mean, I just don't understand what they're on about, really, because why wouldn't you? I just think it makes sense. But anyway, this one is from June 2017, the now discontinued model. So the newer model has the upgraded movement, it has the thinner bracelet, and there's a couple of other tweaks as well. But this is sort of the classic that went on for a very long time and went pretty much unchanged. This is towards the end, obviously June 2017. It was discontinued only last year, I want to say. So or it might have been the year before. I have no idea of time anymore, but either way, still an absolute fantastic watch. My father actually owns this exact reference. He loves it to bits. Everyone I know who owns one of these references is very, very happy. I won't go on about the references in which number it is. You can see that on the website. It's a long number, but inside this is a manually wound Omega caliber 1861 or 1861. Obviously, this being the professional Hesselite, that means it has the plastic crystal, as is the case for the watches that go to the moon. Reason being, with sapphire, if it was to create a large enough impact, it would shatter like glass, which, as you can imagine, if you're floating around in space, the last thing you want is a bunch of glass shards floating around. That's just not a good thing. Whereas with plastic, what tends to happen is it cracks or it dents or it just sort of breaks in a different way. It doesn't usually shatter into lots of pieces, so you haven't got to worry in the same way, and that is why they use plastic. Usability on Earth, I mean, it's just a nice, easy thing. It looks good, it creates more of sort of a dome, a classic vintage feel, and it's easy enough to polish up. So that is pretty much the benefits here on Earth for those of you that won't be traveling to space anytime soon. But let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my wrist. Now, I used to find that this watch was too big. However, in the past sort of 2 years, I'd say this watch is far from too big. It's perfect on the wrist. I absolutely love it, and I will own a Speedmaster one day. But this is 42mm by 48mm lug to lug, sort of perfect proportions really. 14mm thick and 20mm lugs. Endless options on straps, as you guys and girls know. This is a strap monster. And as I said, it's from June 2017, and it does come with its full box and paperwork, which is the big extravagant box with all the extras, including the medallion. So rest assured, you're certainly getting your money's worth, but go check this one out on the website. From there to a Ming we've had before, that's the 1709. However, we now have it in Burgundy. Before we had it in blue. Let's take a closer look. So it's time for another Ming, and this time it's the 1709 in Burgundy. Absolutely gorgeous. We sold the blue one not too long ago, so I feel very sort of lucky to have got the red in now, sort of complete the set as we often do here at Kibble Watches. We seem to get the same references in the different colours throughout the time, and sometimes they often go to the same person who bought the original because they want to complete the set themselves. But this is unworn, as you can see, fully stickered. The strap is mint, buckle mint, everything is perfect as you'd expect for an unworn example. As I say, this is the 1709, absolute classic two-hander. There's no fuss with this watch. It's beautiful, it looks incredible. The depth of the dial is what really pops. And again, you'll have to excuse all the noise, it's just ridiculous. Everyone's out on their motorbikes. But inside here is the automatic Solita SW330M1, and this one is from December 2021 with its full box and paperwork, as you'd expect. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my wrist. I always find these Mings wear absolutely beautiful. Just so you can see, I've tucked the strap into the keepers. I haven't buckled it up, so that way you still get a brand new strap. This is 38mm by 44mm lug to lug, really compact and beautiful on the wrist. 10mm thick, so super thin for an automatic, and 20mm lugs. What I would always recommend, because of these curved ends and the curved spring bars, I would recommend Ming straps. They work absolutely beautiful on the watches, and they just fit really nicely, so I'd stick to those. Although John Rousseau and a couple of other brands, obviously John Rousseau makes straps for Ming, so you can always go to them. They'll be able to provide you with a perfectly fitted strap, so go check it out on the website. Sticking to the more obscure brands, I guess you'd say, let's go over to Baltic with this Revolution and the Rake edition. Let's take a closer look. Time for another unworn watch. Here we go. This is the Baltic and the Revolution and Rake edition, part of the Bicompax Pulso, or it's nicknamed the Pulso, or it's called the Pulso. This is a salmon dial limited edition of 250 pieces that Baltic did with the Rake and Revolution. For those of you who don't know, the Rake is a sort of men's designer fashion magazine, and the Revolution is the watch sort of branch of that company, run by Seiko, which a lot of the watch community know exactly who Seiko is. He has a very interesting Hodinkee Talking Watches episode I'd recommend you check out. But anyway, back to this watch. So a gorgeous Pulso with the pulsation on the inside, hence why it's called the Pulso. Gorgeous star, which is the sort of emblem for the Rake and Revolution that you often see on their collaborations, and that really lovely salmon dial. As I said, limited to only 250 pieces worldwide. This sold out pretty much immediately, and the curvature you see in the strap is because these are fastened to a cushion straight out of factory, so that crease gets put in pretty much immediately. Inside here is a manually wound Seagull ST1901. A lot of you guys and girls will be very familiar with that Chinese manually wound movement based on the old Venus movement, as they bought the rights to the machinery and built the parts, same as they did in Russia with other parts as well. But anyway, this is from December 2021. Does come with its full box and papers as you'd expect, and let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions, because that is where this watch really shines. And here we go on my wrist. As you can see, that size is perfect. This is 36.5mm by 45.5mm lug to lug, really nice and beautifully compact for a mechanical modern chronograph. You just don't see this often. 12.5mm thick and 20mm lug, so again, endless options there for straps, although this, in my opinion, is the perfect pairing, but go check it out on the website today. From there, let's stick to this theme. Let's go over to the Unimatic. Let's take a closer look. We certainly seem to have found all of the unworn watches recently, because this is another unworn example. This is the Unimatic U1-DWN, or Dawn as it's often nicknamed. This is the all black case with the all white dial, white lume, and the black contrast. Absolutely gorgeous, and it really does pop, and I think that is what made this watch so popular when it came out in 2018 with its limited edition run of only 150 pieces worldwide. Like most of the Unimatics, it sold out immediately and went straight onto the sort of secondary market at a higher price. Again, you be the judge whether you want to pay the sort of now market prices of these kind of watches. At the end of the day, that is where the market is, and that is what the sort of industry is now. So again, we can sit here and debate all day long, or we can just sort of look past that point for now and get on to the watches, which is what we're trying to do here. But inside this is the automatic Seiko NH35A. A couple of people have asked, is this the Solita? Is this the Solita? No, they didn't start using Solita until pretty much this year or last year, so we're still only just starting to see that trickle in. All the pieces before are all Seiko NH35s. So do keep that in mind. As I say, this is from 2018, it does come with its full box and paperwork, including the spare strap, and it is, as I say, in unworn condition, limited to 150 pieces. But let's show it on wrist and taut dimensions. And here we go on my wrists. I really love the way all black watches look, and I love them on wrist as well. I've just never really got on with them over the long term personally, but this one looks absolutely fantastic. This is 41.5mm by 48mm lug to lug, 13mm thick, which is obviously made a slightly bit thicker due to the NATO strap, and 22mm lugs, so endless options right there. Although the black NATO just pops, it works, it just really works with this design, so go check it out on the website. From there to something with a very interesting story, and hopefully I can get it right. Let's take a closer look at this Denison. So as I said at the start, we have a slightly tricky one here. This is an absolutely gorgeous Denison, and this is is a modern watch from around 2016. Now, for those of you who know your vintage watches, the name Denison will ring a bell immediately. They used to make the cases for Omega and Rolex and many other brands here in England. They were famous and they did it beautifully. Some of the Omega Denison Seamasters are my favourite references, as well as many others. But this is basically, we have to sort of start where it all happened. Someone apparently bought the brand name and decided to bring it back and designed a watch that you see here called the DENCO 53, so Denko 53 this reference is. They had produced a load of photography and a couple of models and prototypes and shared it all over social media and their website. And then they just vanished. They fell off the face of the earth. We don't really know what happened. Don't really know if the business is still running today. You can still see this watch on their website, but hidden behind everything. So if you go on their website, you won't find this watch, but it's on there still. There's a page that they've hidden, but it's still accessible if you search it on Google. So all very weird and very strange, and we happen to have got one here today. This came from a collector who bought it off another person, and that sort of chain might just go on if we keep asking until eventually it gets back to whoever started Denison maybe. But what we do know is that the watch was never officially made, sold and publicised on their website. So kind of unusual to have one. As you can see, the case back is completely plain. On their website they show a decorated case back. The way it apparently goes is that they never actually got enough orders in the first place to do the case backs, and it's theorized by a couple of people that the case back was never actually created. The photo is just a render. So again, there's so many sort of odd little things with this watch, but what I can tell you is it is beautiful. It is beautifully made and it looks fantastic. That is a Hesselite crystal, that is a screwed out crown, this is a well machined bead blasted or sort of just plain brushed case. This is a very nice strap, nice buckle. Everything about this watch is nice. Inside's an automatic ETA 2824-2, so they haven't skimped out with a Seiko or anything like that. You know, this is a very well built watch, and it's kind of a shame that it never made it, and we will probably never know why, which is super interesting. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my wrist. I forgot to mention as well, that is a lovely decorated waffle dial. So just really, really well done. Really beautiful proportions as well. This is 38mm by 47.5mm lug to lug, 12mm thick and 20mm lug. So endless options and an unusual watch. Something you will likely never see again. So go check it out on the website. Now let's switch gears completely and go to this vintage back row of absolute gorgeous pieces. We're going to start with one of my favorite, that's for sure, and that is this awesome Seiko chronograph. Next up, we have a gorgeously rare Seiko vintage chronograph, often nicknamed the Panda, but then they give that nickname to so many watches. There's so many different nicknames for these Seikos, but we'll stick to references. So this is the 6138-8021. Now, if those of you who really know your Seikos and know your references, you'll hear that 8021 and be a little confused, because 8020 and 8019 are the most common references for this model, whereas 8021 you very rarely ever see. So this is a very cool example to have. The difference is, it depends who you speak to. There's varying opinions and thoughts on what the actual difference is. As far as I can tell, there isn't really much of a difference, other than probably where it was sold to, as in the regions. Because the first bit of that reference, 6138, refers to the automatic Seiko caliber 6138. 8021 is the case reference. And again, I've seen in the past with certain Seiko models, Japanese domestic models, and sometimes models that were sold to the US or Europe, they had different case models, even though the watch was exactly the same. I can't say for definite that is the case with this, but I suspect it is. So this one is from January 1978, and you can see the condition is beautifully original. Absolutely gorgeous. It's working beautifully as you'd expect, and it just looks £1,000,000. You know, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm a massive fan of this design, I'm a massive fan of this watch, and that's why when this was offered to me, I had to take it, and here it is for sale for you guys to now enjoy as well. So go check this one out on the website. I suspect it won't last too long, but before we do that, let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my wrist. Now this is quite a larger watch, and I think a lot of you guys and girls will be surprised, because it is 41mm by 46mm lug to lug, so no small watch. 15.5mm thick, so it is quite a thick watch, and 19mm lug, so a little bit awkward on that lug length, as Seiko love to do, but we've paired it on this beautifully padded brown strap from Watch Gecko, which I think just looks perfect on it. So go check this one out on the website and pick it up today. From there to a very rare Linendahl Seamaster 600 date. Let's take a closer look. Now for a watch I am very excited to bring you guys and girls. Just look at that dial. I'm hoping this is capturing it well, but that is gorgeous. This is almost a slate grey Linendahl with rose gold hands and rose gold buttons. It contrasts beautifully. And this is one of those watches that we've shared a couple of times on Instagram. People like it, but then when those people have come in to look at other watches or say hi or whatever it may be, and I show them this in person, it really stops them in their tracks, and you can see why. Absolutely gorgeous. So this is an Omega Seamaster 600 with the date complication. The reference is 136011, and this one's from circa 1967, so nice and early. Beating away inside here is a manually wound Omega caliber 613. For those of you who are very well familiar with your vintage Omegas, you'll know that caliber is manually wound. One pull is for the date change. And then the last pull, if you pop it out and push it back in, is almost a push-pull date. So you can change it on the fly nice and quick. So that's how that movement works for those of you who are not familiar. Obviously original signed Omega crown. We paired it on this absolutely gorgeous sort of maroony, I don't even know what you'd call this, sort of like a dark burgundy browny red strap, which will patina as you wear it. It sort of creases. Absolutely gorgeous, and a reproduction Omega buckle. I'm a big fan of these. I think for the price that we get them at and provide them on the watch at no additional cost, I think it's a nice add-on to have. However, there's certain dealers out there who sell watches with these on and call them original. That is very wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be disclosing that it is a reproduction. And again, it's just nice to have. So let's show this one on wrist and taut dimensions. Here we go. Definitely on the smaller side, but it still wears beautifully. And this is a perfect watch, maybe to gift to your significant other, so you can sort of keep it for yourself every now and again. Not that I thought about doing that at all, and I've not done that in the past with certain watches. I totally have. Don't tell Leah. But anyway, 34mm by 39.5mm lug to lug, 9.5mm thick, so nice and thin, and 18mm lug, so endless options if you're not a fan of this combination. But I think it looks brilliant. So go check it out on the website today. And because having one super rare Linendahl Omega Seamaster isn't enough, let's take a closer look at the other one we have. So as I said, having one rare Linendahl Seamaster wasn't enough. So here we have two. This is also absolutely gorgeous, a much lighter dial than the last one, and yellow gold on the inside rather than the rose gold, so again a really gorgeous contrast. This is an Omega Seamaster, not a 600 like the last one, and no date as you can see. This is the reference 135011, so the other one was 136011, so it's a 1-digit reference difference, and this one's from circa 1966, so 1 year previous. Inside this is a manually wound Omega caliber 601, which has obviously no date change function to worry about. It's a nice, simple, beautiful, and a true workhorse. There isn't really an awful lot to say about this watch other than what we said about the other one, because this is just as rare and just as gorgeous. The dial isn't as perfect as the other one, but it's still really, really nice. You can see the hands have original patina or rust, whatever you want to call it. They're starting to oxidize and age. I like keeping them this way. It shows the history, it shows the charm. At the end of the day, you don't buy a vintage watch to expect modern quality and modern standards. I said it to a customer recently because they were sort of umming and ahhing about a vintage watch. It would have been their first, and I said, you've just got to shift your mindset. You know, you wouldn't get into a 1966 Ford Mustang and expect it to perform and be as comfortable as a modern day Tesla. Talking about cars, there's a motorbike outside which sounds horrendous, but hey, this is the way Clerkenwell goes, but you get my point. You know, you'd expect modern luxuries and comfort from your Tesla, not from your Mustang, so don't expect the same when it comes to watches. Don't expect this to be on par with your modern Omega, which is chronometer and Kosk and Meta and all these crazy things. This is a beautiful, elegant piece of history on your wrist, and we are lucky to be able to wear mechanical items that are this old and still do their task. That's the way I see it. So let's show it on wrist and taut dimension. And here we go on wrist, pretty much identical to the other watch, apart from it's 0.5mm thinner, which I suspect is maybe due to the date complication bit. This is 34mm by 39.5mm lug to lug, only 9mm thick rather than 9.5mm thick, and again 18mm lugs, so endless options right there. Go check this beauty out on the website today. Now to something very much of its time on its original Omega Fixo. This is really, really cool. Let's have a look at this Geneve. Last Omega of the day is this gorgeous Omega Geneve manually wound. A lot of you guys and girls would have seen this reference over the years. It's got this really awesome, almost tornado shaped case, which is very flat. I've always loved how these wear. You see original Omega crown right there as well. But this is the reference 135041, and inside is the manually wound Omega caliber 601, same as the Seamaster we just looked at. So manually wound, no date, no fuss, nice and simple. And this one's from circa 1970. And what makes this watch so special is not only the fact it's really gorgeous monochromatic with the silver dial, but it's this bracelet. Now, for those of you who know me, you'll know I hate these bracelets and I take them off any watch I ever get in, apart from when they are the original Omega Fixo bracelets. Absolutely awesome, very rarely seen, and they fit this model. As you can see, this is the reference it was sold on. It fits like a glove. There is a little dent there. This is a worn bracelet. We've thoroughly cleaned it out. Believe me, it was horrible. So now it's all clean and nice for you to wear. But you can see that fitted end, absolutely beautiful. They are very difficult to get on and off, so do keep that in mind. If you're thinking of swapping the bracelet on and off regularly, just keep in mind it's a bit of a hassle, a bit of a pain. You've got to be patient. But it's totally doable, especially at 18mm. You can swap it out onto a leather strap nice and easy if you're not a fan of this Fixo. But it's nice to have and nice to be able to sell it on again in the future and provide with the watch, regardless of what you choose to wear it on. But absolutely awesome. And let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on my 7-inch wrist. So it is a bit loose on my wrist. It would require a couple of blocks taken out. This can be done. It usually has to be done by a jeweler. We know people who can get it done, so just let us know. But once you take it out, it's very, very difficult, if not near impossible, to put them back in. So keep that in mind. This is uncut and unsized. So if you're thinking of keeping this and then selling it in a few years, I'd probably recommend leaving this unsized because it just helps with the sellability in the future. But this is 34.5mm by 40.5mm lug to lug, 9.5mm thick and 18mm lugs as I mentioned, so you can swap this out nice and easy if you choose to. Keep this aside and then provide it back with the watch whenever you choose to, if you ever choose to, sell it on. From there to something that you can sort of take anywhere, do anything with, and not have to worry about. That's what this watch is in my opinion. Let's have a closer look at this Heuer Aquaracer. Next up is a watch from Heuer that I always felt was overlooked and underrated. And you might be surprised to hear me say that about Heuer because I'm usually quite critical when it comes to Heuer, apart from certain models like the Carreras and the Monacos, and especially vintage. When it comes to Heuer, I absolutely adore vintage Heuer. Whereas Heuer, especially with the F1 range, I would recommend everyone to stay clear. However, the Aquaracer, I think, is that fantastic bridge point before the Carrera that offers an incredible dive watch. And some of the newer pieces they've just released at Watches and Wonders, I think, are brilliant, and I can't wait to get a closer look in person. But this is the perfect example of a all-round watch, and what I mean by that is it's automatic, it's very well built, it looks fantastic, and you can do anything with it and not have to worry too much because it's not the price of a Rolex Submariner. Yeah, it kind of looks a bit similar, but different design cues. But anyway, this is the Heuer Aquaracer Caliber 5, which refers to the movement, which is basically an ETA 2824 or more modern Sellita SW200 that they remodify and do a couple of changes to. But the specific reference to this is the WAN2110, and this one's from circa 2017. The reason it's circa 2017 is because it comes with this box and booklet, but unfortunately the original card has been lost. Apparently when the gentleman took it into Ernest Jones, where he originally bought it to have it repaired, they took the card and never provided the card back. I've heard this story multiple times. I do believe it. I've seen it happen as well. It's very frustrating when this happens. They shouldn't be taking the card. They should be taking down the details of the card, photographing the card, or photocopying and giving the card back for you to retain. So if you can avoid giving your card in when you have to send your watch off for repair, please do, because not always do they keep them and return them, especially the company I just mentioned. Hopefully that don't get me in trouble, but hey. So as I say, nice caliber 5 inside, really great watch. The spare links also weren't given back. Again, I believe this. I know the gentleman who bought this very well, and he's much more aware nowadays than he was probably back in 2017, so he knows all these things now, whereas back then he didn't. So bracelet wise, this is the full bracelet, which fits me comfortably with, you know, a lot of wiggle. I'd probably be taking a link out, so for most of you out there this is still going to be more than fine. but a very, very good watch nonetheless. But let's talk dimensions now. We got it on wrist. No transition, this one. 41mm by 47.5mm lug to lug, only 11.5mm thick, and 20mm lugs. Endless options. I see a lot of people wear this on a rubber strap because those lugs are quite shallow, which means the rubber strap fits quite flush. Not obviously perfectly flush, but flush enough that it looks good. So go check this one out on the website. And last but by no means least, we're going to be taking a look at a unworn Christopher Ward. And this is not just any Christopher Ward, this is the C8 Pilot Revival. Let's take a closer look. Now on to one of the newer releases from Christopher Ward, which for those of you who are very familiar with the brand will be quite surprised, because you're looking at that logo going, that's the old logo, that's not the logo they use today. So this is the C8 Revival Pilot, or Pilot Revival. The Revival series, they're bringing back some of their classic models with their older logo, because they are very well aware, very well connected to the community, and they understand their logo changes over the years haven't been for everyone, and there's some very vocal people out there who seem to think it matters an awful lot. So they made this watch for you guys and girls out there who are those people who think it really does matter. For me, I'm not too fussed. I really like their new logo. It doesn't bother me one bit. This old logo is also fantastic. So win-win. But this is the C8 Revival, January 2022, full box and papers, unworn, and it's a limited edition of 200 pieces. Nice big crown over there, and very nicely decorated movement. And inside this is obviously the Sellita SW200-1. Christopher Ward pretty much exclusively use Sellita now and their own in-house movements, but I love how this is decorated. It looks fantastic, and an absolutely gorgeous watch. Nice and easy to use, and whilst it is a big pilot's watch, and we'll get onto dimensions in a second, I find this not to be too big. Now some of the pilot's watches, they are absolutely huge, and I understand why. That's part of the fact it's a pilot's watch. However, they are absolutely unwearable for me and most people, whereas these guys, they've made it big, so it's very clearly still a big pilot's watch, but it isn't too big. So let's show on wrist and show you what I mean. Okay, and here we go on my wrist. So as I say, it is not a small watch by any stretch of the imagination, but it does wear well for how big it is. So this is 44mm by 53mm lug to lug. It is over that 50mm lug to lug sweet spot I always go on about, but it still wears well. 11.5mm thick, so nice and thin for how big the watch is, which again helps with wearability, and 22mm lugs, which are quite small lugs really for the size of the watch. Again, it gives the illusion it looks smaller on the wrist than what it is, so all these things really do help. So go check this one out on the website today. So there you have it, guys and girls, this week's drop. 12 awesome watches ranging in price, age, and everything in between. As always, this is what we try and do. I hope you guys have been enjoying the variety. We have the most watches we have ever had on the website at the moment, and also coming soon. So thank you all very, very much. None of this would be possible without you guys and girls, and thanks to you guys and girls continuing to purchase, we can keep going, so I really do appreciate it. So go check these goodies out, and we'll see you all again next week. Take care.